Have you ever pondered why breastfeeding, a natural act of nurturing, stirs up such a hullabaloo when it comes to public exposure? The normalization of breastfeeding is a topic of great debate, particularly when it involves the exposure of nipples. This controversy is multifaceted, with arguments that range from sexualization to discomfort among viewers to negative public perception and legal implications. In the next few minutes, we will explore the potential disadvantages of normalizing breastfeeding when nipples are exposed. Firstly, let's examine the sexualization of breastfeeding. The issue arises when the exposure of nipples during breastfeeding leads to the act being perceived in a sexual context, a perspective that is fundamentally flawed. Breastfeeding is a natural and nurturing act, designed to nourish and bond with the newborn in the most organic way possible. However, the sexualization of this act distorts its true essence and can perpetuate harmful stereotypes. This can significantly undermine the efforts to promote breastfeeding as a normal, natural, and essential practice. It's a matter of perception, and unfortunately, it's not always easy to control how people perceive things. Yet it's important to remember that breastfeeding is not an act of exhibitionism or sensuality, but a mother feeding her child. So sexualization poses a significant hurdle in normalizing breastfeeding with exposed nipples. Moving on, we need to consider the discomfort or offense that some viewers might experience. The sight of exposed nipples in public spaces, even in the context of breastfeeding, can be unsettling for some. This discomfort is not always rooted in prudishness or a lack of understanding, but rather in personal values, cultural norms, or simply a preference for privacy in certain aspects of life. This discomfort can translate into offense for some, and when offense is taken, it often sparks controversy. Controversies in turn can create division and resistance, which can potentially hinder the overall goal of normalizing breastfeeding. We must remember that the aim here is to foster acceptance and understanding, not to alienate or provoke. Therefore, the discomfort and offense caused to some can act as a roadblock in normalizing breastfeeding with exposed nipples. The challenge lies in finding a balance, a way to normalize breastfeeding while also respecting the comfort levels of the wider population. Next, we delve into the negative public perception and the potential legal consequences. It's important to acknowledge that the public's perception can be influenced by deeply ingrained societal norms and personal beliefs. When breastfeeding mothers are shown with exposed nipples, it can unfortunately perpetuate negative stereotypes. These mothers may be seen as immodest or sensationalized, which is a far cry from the reality of nurturing and caring for an infant. Such negative perceptions can also inadvertently create a hostile environment for breastfeeding mothers, making them feel judged or stigmatized in public places. This goes against the very aim of normalizing breastfeeding, which is to create a supportive and accepting environment for all mothers. But it's not just about public perception. In some jurisdictions, there are legal considerations as well. The public exposure of nipples, even in the context of breastfeeding, can fall foul of local laws and regulations. This could potentially lead to legal repercussions for breastfeeding mothers, adding another layer of complexity to their already challenging journey. The challenge, therefore, lies in normalizing breastfeeding while still respecting cultural norms and legal boundaries. If not handled sensitively, the attempt to normalize could inadvertently lead to more harm than good, by reinforcing negative stereotypes and potentially inviting legal trouble. Thus, negative public perception and potential legal consequences are significant considerations in this debate. Finally, let's recap the main points discussed today. We've taken a deep dive into the potential pitfalls of normalizing breastfeeding when nipples are shown. First, there's the risk of sexualization, as this can transform the perception of an inherently nurturing act into something else entirely. Then we have the issue of discomfort or offense, which may arise for some viewers when exposed to such display in public spaces. This could inadvertently alienate certain sections of society. We also touched on the negative public perception and the potential legal consequences that could arise from showcasing exposed nipples during breastfeeding. This could inadvertently reinforce unhelpful stereotypes and misconceptions, or even lead to legal implications in some jurisdictions. Last but not least, we discussed how the focus on the display of nipples might distract from the core message of breastfeeding advocacy. While normalizing breastfeeding is important, it's crucial to do so in a way that respects cultural sensitivities and maintains the focus on the act of breastfeeding itself, rather than the exposure of nipples.